There's just 66 days until Election Day. You heard me, 66. The first ballots will be mailed out in just 6 days. And Vice President Kamala Harris is showing up in places that haven't seen a presidential nominee in quite some time. Harris took her bus tour with Governor Walz to Southeast Georgia this week, working to make gains in the battleground state. According to her campaign, a presidential candidate hasn't stomped in Savannah during a general election cycle since the 1990s. And while in Savannah, Harris sat down for her first major interview as the Democratic nominee. Here's how she explained a shift on some policy goals.
I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. I believe it is important to build consensus, and it is important to find a common place of understanding of where we can actually solve problems.
Joining us now, Latasha Brown, co-founder of Black Voters Matter Fund, and MSNBC political analyst Kimberly Atkins-Storr. She's also a Boston Globe columnist and co-host of the hashtag Sisters-in-Law podcast. Welcome to you both.
Welcome, welcome. So, Kimberly, let me start with you because lots of fanfare had been made by Republicans and some folks in the media apparatus about the lack of an interview from Vice President Harris, even though, Joe Biden was nominee like a month ago. So please spare me without...
Don't get her started.
Please, context, I thought context mattered, but maybe not.
Yeah, it's no reason for her to be getting that little attitude. We already know that a lot of us black people are embarrassing ourselves during this election. We're fighting hard for Kamala Harris, and she's not fighting hard for us. This lady is on here because MSNBC is paying her to be on there and fighting in hard. And she might really feel it like that. I don't know. But we have got to be critical of these candidates. We look like fools. We are asking for reparations. We're not asking for Kamala Harris to be our candidate. If Kamala Harris is not speaking reparations, then she is not the path to where we're trying to get. And if we vote for her for historic reasons, it's not going to get us any closer to what we need to be getting close to. And she's going to move on like Barack did and all the others before him. We just need to keep our heads focused, keep your eye on the tiger there, whatever you got, but do not be distracted.
So the vice president did an interview. From a communications perspective, I thought that she and Governor Walz went out and did what needed to be done. She made a little news. It did no harm. But I'm wondering what your take is on the interview.
Yeah, she looked like she was very much in control. My favorite was the narrative that she needed Governor Walz there as some sort of crutch, because God forbid a black woman be able to form complete sentences in an interview by herself. But certainly she did not need him.
Notice how the rules and the bar changes.
Absolutely.
And somebody else at the top, because candidates usually do interviews with their running mates. Donald Trump, J.D. Vance,
Bush
Joe Biden, Kamala Bush, literally everyone. It's what you do.
Yeah, I don't know what they talking about. You didn't have to bring that dude Walz with you, Kamala. You should have had that interview by yourself. You've been ducking and dodging and hiding from the press. You ain't been giving regular interviews or making yourself accessible to the press. Or after your rallies, open a little tent up, you can step to the side and let them fire a few questions at you, just so that you don't look like you're just hiding, because you completely was just ducking the press. If it wasn't on a teleprompter or a prepared speech, you wasn't doing it. So yeah, what these ladies are talking about is craziness, and that's just it. We can't protect you into the White House. We have to vote you into the White House, and we have to do it based on your merits and what you're doing. When you make mistakes, you can't get in an interview here on the weekend with these three delusional ladies and make up answers that Kamala should have given. She didn't give those answers that this one lady was talking about. She did not give that answer. That's what you might have heard, but you cannot change what Kamala said and what you want everybody to have heard Kamala say, trying to be some kind of interpreter. We heard exactly what Kamala said. It was a horrible interview. It didn't look good. There was no reason for Walz to be there. Vice presidents and presidents do joint interviews, but in this particular circumstance, she's too new to us to be any diversions. If we need to find out about his ass too. But this is the top of the ticket. We don't want no interference. We want Kamala Harris sitting there on the spot, and they should have had one of those bright lights above her head like when they're interrogating you. 'Cause that's what she should have been under. And Walz was completely unnecessary. And he was an emotional support something, and he didn't have to be there. She needed him. She kept looking to him, and when he answered a question, just talking, giving her a break from the microphone in the interview was just such a relief on her face. You could see it. Yeah, she was shook. She should not have done that interview.
100%. But she went out and she did a good job. I loved the way that she dismissed questions about Donald Trump's racist attacks on her, because that's not her business, that's his. But I also like the way that she talked about how her positions have, quote unquote, changed. To me, that sounded like pragmatism. She got into the White House and she realized to achieve the goals of furthering climate policy, it takes compromise. It takes bringing people to the table. That's pragmatism. That's not a shift. A shift is what Donald Trump did in the same day.
For those of you who aren't as big of fans of Kamala as I am, she's a flip-flopper. Go back and look at her, because she really did put a platform and her policies up and stand on stage and try to be the progressive left. And she put her foot in her mouth, because here we are just 3.5 years later, and I'll bet you if she could have repicked those policies and some of those positions and things she agreed with, she would. These ladies are trying to make it sound like, oh yeah, she just... The lady, Dana Bash, asked her exactly what this black lady is saying. Did you get new knowledge, new information, oh no. She just point blank shot it down, didn't take the help. And now these ladies are trying to take the help for her. You can't. Kamala was there live in their interview, and she screwed it up. It was a bad interview. She did not do herself any favors, and the only thing she can do going forward is make herself more accessible to the press. Because she might think that going to the people and going to the swing states is what she might lose is some of the people who planned on voting for her, who, because of her inaccessibility. The best way to get out to the people is on TV. Go to a big YouTuber, go to a television show, make yourself accessible, sit back and take deep breaths and relax, get a cup of tea or coffee, because you ain't going nowhere for a minute, and answer some damn questions, some policy questions. But you're avoiding that, and it's obvious you're avoiding that, and it looks like you're out there trying to hustle. Man, you can get that message out to them swing states, and believe me, this is that close. You guys better do a better job at figuring out what part of the voters are still in play, because some of them ain't even in play. Y'all might be wasting your time, but I just don't be delusional like these ladies. I mean, that ain't right. To try to sway people to believe like they do. I mean, I don't like Kamala, but I don't want everybody else to dislike her. I mean, I personally think she's not an honest person, but some people might listen to what she's saying and have a justifiable reason why what she's saying doesn't line up with the truth. I don't know. But I just don't like to go too hard trying to help people out who aren't trying to help me. I think I would have a little more compassion for Kamala if I felt that she really cared. I've heard people say some horrible things about Barack Obama, and there were times in my workplace and back in the day I would speak up and try to get into it with people over there. And I wish somebody would say something about that dude, and I'm going to waste a breath of because he didn't waste a breath of his air on me. That's the way I feel, or my people. And she doing the same thing, but you guys are seeing, for some reason, maybe our brains are being reset every 5 years or something, because I did not forget.
For a 6-week abortion ban before he was against it within 24 hours. And I also loved her talking about why wouldn't she bring a Republican into her administration. We forget that that's something that presidents always did. Obama did it, Bush did it. That was normalcy. But suddenly we're in an era, because of the focus on Trump, where everything is so tribal. And she's being a leader in that position. She's acting like presidents always have, and it's like the nation.
I don't know where we got lost, folks. Where black people are screaming for what old presidents used to do. We should be looking and aiming toward the future and pulling in that direction, and not sitting here with a warm heart reminiscing over Ronald Reagan and Lyndon B. Johnson and Dwight Eisenhower. I mean, what is wrong with this lady? And Kamala Harris is supposed to be the one turning pages. That's all she talk about is turning pages. So we don't need to be trying, just because you got asked a spontaneous question and it was random as hell by Dana Bash about would you put that was some random shit. And if it wasn't, and y'all ask her to say that was some ridiculous shit, because you are not putting a Republican in your cabinet nowhere. I don't believe it. And if it is, it's going to be some lower level shit just so you can say you did what you said, because they're going to call you out on this. So yeah, you might find a spot for one, but that was not in your thinking. You ain't never said that before. And all of it, although you have been avoiding interviews, but I just like so bothered by that. You just, and then these girls picked up on it like I picked up on it. But I'm just saying what's honest. You didn't never talk about that before. And they sitting there saying, well, it's a good idea. That's what we've been doing forever. That's more in the tradition of the country. Get the fuck out of here. The Democrats ain't worried about no traditions of the country or good relationships no more than the Republicans are. And that's what most Democrats have been brainwashed to believe, is that the party that they belong to is better than the other party. That's a fucked up way of thinking. To think that the party you are in, they're better, your fellow Americans, you're better than them, though. Just because they're Democrats and you're Republicans.
It's forgotten that. It's not that she's changed, it's the nation has.
Latasha, there are a couple of, I love the fact that Kimberly used the word normal in part of her answer, because, there are a lot of aspects of this campaign that are normal, that are not normal. And what is, from a political stance, not normal is going someplace you haven't won, where the people, your team typically tells you, oh, I don't think we should waste our time or our resources there. This candidate, Kamala Harris, running for the presidency, has a different approach. And I'd like you to listen to what she talked about, how she talked about Georgia voters and how Georgia has delivered. Let's listen.
Georgia, for the past 2 election cycles, voters in this very state, you who are here, have delivered. You sent 2 extraordinary senators to Washington, D.C. You sent President Biden and me to the White House. You showed up. You knocked on doors. You registered folks to vote. And you made it happen. You did that.
And it would not be too much for the people you're speaking to ask you, what are you going to do for us? You have just told them in several examples what they did to you, for you. What they did for you. My bad. You have showed them what they have done for you. Now, they want you to tell what you're going to do for them. You owe them already. So what are you going to do for them? What are you going to do for any of these crowds that you're running all over the country addressing? 17 times in this state, 13 times in that state, 11 times over here. All these swing states you're hitting. But have you, since you ain't talking to the press, have you let these people know real policies as opposed to just campaign speak? I don't think so.
And so now we are asking you to do it again.
And again, and again, and again. Do it again and again. Every time we come and ask for votes, don't ask for nothing. We got you. We know what you need. You don't even have to ask. Just vote again and again for us. Can you believe that?
Hey, Georgia, that's the thinking. I like it. It's aggressive. It's in your face. The interviews and all of that stuff are, that's fodder for the press. But you're on the ground with real people in a state like Georgia. This kind of movement in a space where Democrats typically have been outflanked or not played well in the past says that she's taking places like Georgia very seriously. How do you see that translating on the ground in the work you're doing?
Oh, if you were there, the kind of energy and excitement that's there. I think there were 3 real core messages that she sent. The first message is that every voter matters. That ultimately she went to rural Georgia, which is a place that when you're looking at the numbers is nowhere near when you see Metro Atlanta. But what she's saying is not only is she going to be the president to govern in urban areas, but also she wants to connect to voters who are out in rural America. The second thing is I think she's saying she's in it to win it. that what we know that Georgia, when you look at Georgia, particularly in the last few elections, while the urban center, that's where the bulk of the votes came from, what you saw is Biden did much better in the rural areas, that the margin of victory from in those counties that are normally Republican, that if you shave off some of that, then that also increases your ability to be able to win the state. And I think the third thing is, I think it was really interesting that one of the first places she went to was a high school, and then she went to small businesses. I think she's sending a message with her campaign is that she is going to center everyday people, that she actually is going out for the vote for young voters and also for voters in rural America and voters who literally are connected around small businesses.
That's such an important observation, Latasha, because I do think that the vice president does have a kind of a laser focus, if you will, on small businesses. I think one of the first events she did when I worked for her at the White House, when we got there, was a round table, virtual because of COVID, with small business folks that she had met on the campaign trail to let them know that the promises she and President Biden made, they were going to follow through on. You talk about Georgia, and Chatham County is the county that Savannah sits in, and we want to put this up on the screen for folks. Secretary Clinton won 15,349 more votes than Donald Trump in that county in 2020. Biden won 25,015 more votes than Trump. That is like a net gain of a little over 9,600 votes. That is where Savannah is. And so I think growing the margins here, Kimberly, I mean, this is how you put other states in play. This is how you make sure that Georgia in 2020 wasn't a one-off.
They keep talking about they don't want Georgia to be a one-off and to come back there and be able to get those votes again. But have you noticed that they came then and here they are again, and they never talking about her policy? All they do is talk about stuff making. We're going to have an opportunity in economy. What the hell does that mean? It could be a good opportunity or a bad opportunity. When there's an opportunity, just words like that piss me off because it don't mean nothing, and it's a way to get somebody to get excited and be in there because they may not get it and they might believe you, and they go in there and vote for an opportunity economy that they may never participate in.
I'd be a purple state.
Yes, I think that that's absolutely right. And I think that it is important, particularly for Democrats, to go out not only because, elections are won in the margins and the map that you just showed, but just even to areas. Kamala Harris has been going to areas that have voted Republican. She's been going to red counties and other places. When you are president of the United States, you are president for everyone. And I think that outreach makes a difference. It makes voters.
Obama's the one who started that. Hey, I'm not the president just for black people. I'm president for the whole country. And that softened black people up there. It's like, wow, that's the best thing ever. How smart. Because he can't just be special to us. He got to be in everybody. And then they trying it again. Oh, Kamala's not just she's president for the whole country. So we don't ask for nothing. Oh, well, we can't be special because we're just part of the country. You have citizens in this country that need to be taken care of. And as president, you need to accept that. You can't put things on your plate that you want and then push things back. Based on that interview, it seems like it was a well-rounded CNN interview conducted by Dana Bash with your support VP present. And you should have been comfortable enough at some point during that interview to talk about reparations. And you didn't.
Feel seen. It is not just people sitting here in Washington making all of the decisions for them and forgetting that. And I think that she is mindful of that. She's mindful that she wants to connect across the board in a way that Donald Trump certainly is not doing. He's doing most of his campaigning from Mar-a-Lago or
one of his country clubs.
Or the golf club. And she's doing something entirely different. I think that that's a really good choice that her campaign is making.
Latasha, Kimberly referenced earlier Donald Trump's misogyny and racism in his approach to candidate Harris. I'd like you to listen to the question from Dana Bash about that to Vice President Harris.
He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any?
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
All right, so just for the record, every black person has made that face.
This is the face.
It's just the face, right? It's like, really? Really? This is what you got.
It's like, okay, I'm going to answer, but...
I'm going to answer. But the face aside, which actually was the answer, which we can't say on a family show, the fact is that she is above that. She's putting herself above that. Let Donald Trump stay where he is. She's trying to elevate voters. We've been in that place for almost 10 years now. And so she's trying to elevate it up by not leaning into that. What do you think of that?
I don't know where that 10-year stuff is coming from. Donald Trump had 4 years as president. Biden got 4 years as president. I don't know why they keep saying Donald Trump in this country's 10 years of what, unless they are forfeiting therefore to Trump. If they're saying basically he was on the sidelines controlling the votes, controlling half of the Senate, controlling half of Congress, then yeah, then give him his props. But don't say it in a bad way. It's a good thing for him and a bad thing for you to not be able to legislate with him out of the White House. Because I don't know what you're going to expect to happen if he should win and get in. It's going to be very scary for all of us. Because this man can be the president from the outside. I never seen that happen before.
Strategy.
One, I think it was a brilliant answer because I think we have to really understand the character of racism. The character of racism is to make people feel like that you have to defend your humanity. That ultimately you've got to justify your presence on this very earth, that your identity is always in question and who you are. And what I think that she did in her message is said, no, I'm not doing that I am not going to justify who I am, my humanity or my identity. I'm not going to feed into a racist trope that we know Donald Trump uses and weaponizes. And so I think it was a brilliant answer. And I think it sent a message loud and clear that she is not going to allow Trump to define her, that she is going to stand who she's always been, and that ultimately she is so far above that she's not even going to even consider or entertain that question.
I was putting my collection plate together for the sermon that you was just preaching. Latasha, we was over here like, yes.
Well, Latasha, you put your finger on the point that I made very much during my time as chairman of the RNC and afterwards, that, the one thing that I found offensive in the whole birtherism thing was the fact that, this was, you have to prove why you're here. And you put your finger on that very important point, and we thank you for it, because we don't have to prove. We've been here for 400 years. You here because we were here.
What I don't like is when they get together on a show, a bunch of Democrats, especially black ones, and they start acting like we done won the election already, like ain't nobody gonna mess with us, and we did. Look, let me tell you something. You guys need to find out what Kamala is gonna do that's gonna help black people. I don't know why or how much they pay people to do these shows, but to lead an entire group of people or people who may not be as intelligent as you politically, but you're going to take advantage of them and try to feed them over to Kamala Harris because you think that Kamala Harris is the best thing for them, and reparations is not in her agenda. It ain't in Donald Trump's either. But if our news pundits worked like sensible human beings with brains, they would make it very clear that somebody better put reparations on there. And between the press and us or somebody, who in the hell helps black people? Can you give me their number? Can you leave it in the comments? Is there somebody in this country, or are we just lost? We got elected officials. We got Supreme Court justices. We got everybody in every walk of life, but we only have one. Maybe we need to start getting more so that they feel more comfortable. Because I was looking at Kamala at being a presidential candidate. She's like a fish out of water. She's going to have to acclimate, and she's going to have to do it like quick. Because it looked bad. Nobody's going to vote for you with that facial expression. That ain't going to happen. It's scary. It's scary. I wouldn't. Even if you can get rid of that facial expression, you probably won't get my vote. Anyway, guys, I had to bring that to you. It was a nice story, I thought. for you to know about, and not be overwhelmed and bullied by people like that. They get in little groups and they start speaking like they don't know anything, and they making up stories, and it ain't right. There's no reason to lie if your candidate is good. You got a good candidate, you can repeat the truth a million times, but don't start making up stuff and answering her questions for you. You weren't in a CNN interview, and now you want to answer her questions. Oof. I'm going to get a cold glass of water on that one, guys. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.